Hi everybody, it's Zev Steinhardt from Photography in Plain English, and today we're going to go into Photoshop and I'm going to show you how to transform this image into this. In this video, we're going to cover working with selections, layers, masks, and hue saturation layers. In addition, there's a bonus tip at the end that'll show you how to really make this image shine and deepen its colors. So, go ahead and download the tulip picture from the link in the description, open up in Photoshop, and let's get started. Okay, this is the image we're going to start with. The first thing I want to do is I want to take this tulip and put it on a black background. When I shot the image, I shot it against a black piece of fabric, but you can see that there's some light that came through and reflected against the fabric. You can see it over here, and you can see it over here. And if just in case you can't see it, I will go ahead and bump up the exposure just that you have a better view of it. Feel these areas right here and over here. I want to turn the entire background black. So I will go ahead and delete this layer since it was just to show you. And I will go ahead and create a solid black layer. So I go to New Layer and I choose Solid Color and I'm going to choose Black. And I hit OK. So now I have a solid black layer. Of course I can't see the tulip underneath it because the black layer is on top. So what I want to do now is I want to separate the tulip from the background that it's on and then put it onto this black background. So I'm going to go ahead and make this layer invisible. So we have, again, what we had before. And now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to select the tulip. What I want is I want the tulip, I want the stem, but I don't want this leaf over here. So I'm going to go to our Object Selection tool. And I'm going to draw a rough outline around the tulip. And if you see, the Object Selection tool did a pretty good job of selecting the tulip. I will go ahead and, just to make sure that everything's good, I will go to, because I'm not on the right layer. So I wanted to choose Select and Mask. Actually, I have to be on the same layer for that. So let me choose that layer, and now choose Select and Mask. In Select and Mask, I have the background set to blue just simply because it sets it apart from the pink so I can easily see what's selected and what's not. If you have something in your image that's blue and you're going to get confused, you're not going to be able to tell what's selected, you can always go ahead and change the color. But I'm going to leave it at blue for the moment. So now I'm going to zoom in. That's Control and plus. And I'm going to go around the edges and make sure that I got everything. As you can see over here, it looks like some of the stem wasn't selected by the tool. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Refine Edge. That's this brush over here. And making sure that I have the plus selected because I want to add to the selection. Just going to paint in here until, there we go. That seems to be pretty good. Now let's go around the rest of it. Make sure that the edges look good. I don't know if you can see it, but over here it looks like we lost some of the tulip. So same thing, I'm going to use the Refine Edge and just brush in there to get the rest of it. And it's continuing up here. Okay, and here it looks like we got some of the black background. We don't want that. Again, just use the Refine Edge brush. Just to grab the rest of the tulip. Okay. I'm not going to try to get this part over here because this was actually pretty dark on the tulip. It was lit from the other side, and it's fine if that's just black. And over here a little bit. Okay, there we go. I think that's pretty good. Just zoom back out, take a look. Okay. And we're going to go ahead, we want to output this tulip onto a new layer. So we go to Output 2, and we choose New Layer, and we hit OK. And there we go, our tulip is on a new layer. Let's move this layer up over the black background layer, turn on the black background layer, and there we go. Okay, now I think I want to do a little dodging and burning on this tulip, just to maybe add a little depth to the image. There are dodge and burn tools available in Photoshop, but I don't really use them because they tend to be destructive. Once you use those changes, you can't undo them. So instead, there's another way to do it. You go to Layer, New Layer. And we're going to call this layer Dodge and Burn. We're going to use Soft Light as the blend mode. And we're going to fill it with a neutral color, 50% gray. And hit OK. And you'll see you have a new Dodge Burn layer created, but you notice there's no change. The reason for that is because when you use Soft Light and you use 50% gray, the effects cancel each other out. So now, if you want to dodge and burn, all you have to do is paint on it with black and white. If you paint on it with white, it's going to lighten the image. If you paint on it with black, it's going to darken the image. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my brush, and I'm going to be using a soft brush, 0% hardness. And I'm going to take the opacity of the brush down to about 20%. Because you want to do this in a subtle way. You don't want to do this... Well, here, let me show you. If I go ahead and paint on it with white, that's quite strong. And we don't want to go ahead and make it that strong. We want it to be subtle. We want the changes to be subtle so that they're not all that noticeable, but they do make a difference. So we're going to change the opacity down to about 20%. 23, that's fine. I'm going to make the brush smaller by using the left bracket key. We're going to make sure we have our default colors. If you don't have black and white in your color palette, all you have to do is hit D, and that defaults it to black and white. And X will alternate between the two. So first I'm going to do some dodging. I'm going to make some parts darker. So I'm going to leave black as the foreground color. And I think I'll do some painting over here. There are no hard and fast rules. It's really whatever you, as the artist, would like to see. If you want to make an area darker, you make it darker. If you want to see an area lighter, you make it lighter. It's up to you, as the artist, to decide. You know, painters get to apply light and dark wherever they want. It's a little bit harder for us photographers because we have to deal with pre-existing light, but still, we can get to do some of this as well. So now I'm painting with white, making things a little bit lighter. Maybe over here. Over here. Okay, let's see how that looks. That's before. That's after. Before, after. Okay, maybe add a little darkness down here, just a little bit. There we go. Maybe not that much. You can always reverse things. Just instead of painting with black, you paint with white, or vice versa if you want to change it. Now let's go darken it just a bit more. There we go. Okay, I think that's good. So now we're going to take everything we have here and we're going to create a stamp. Basically all that is we're going to take all the layers that we have and merge them together to form a brand new layer. So make sure all your layers are highlighted and you press Shift Control Alt E. And you'll see that created a brand new layer, which we're going to call here layer 1. We'll change it. We'll just call this the base layer. And now we're going to start working with the colors. And for the colors, we're going to use HueSaturation layers. So first we're going to start with red. We're going to do the colors according to the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Roy G. Biv, right? So we're going to go ahead and choose a new HueSaturation layer. Now the HueSaturation layer, the way it works, basically there are 3 sliders that you have here: hue, saturation, and lightness. Hue determines the color. When I move this slider around, you can see the color starts shifting to all sorts of different colors. Saturation is how vivid and how intense the color is. You can go all the way up till it's almost like a cartoonish version, or you can take away all the saturation, which in effect makes it a monochrome image. Lightness is simply how much white or how much black is added to the image. You can shift this all the way up and add lots of white. You can shift it all the way down and add lots of black. We're not going to be working with lightness. We're just going to be using hue and saturation in this picture. So the first thing we want to do is change this tulip to red. So we're going to grab the hue slider, and we're going to start moving it until it begins approaching something reddish, like that. Also, for an image of this type, I think turning up the saturation is good, since this image is all about the color. So we're going to turn up the saturation and make it really saturated. Now you can see that changed the tulip into red, and it did a pretty nice job of it. But I don't want it to affect the green. I want the stem and the bottom here to remain more or less natural looking. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a layer mask. As you can see, there's already a layer mask on this image. So I'm going to click on it, and we're going to paint with black because we want to hide the effect of this hue saturation layer by the stem. So with the layer mask selected, we're going to take our brush. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger with the right arrow key. And painting with black, just going to go over it. Oh, I had the opacity all the way down. We turn the opacity to 100%. Now paint over it. There we go. And just paint over that green. Make it a little bit lower, a little bit smaller rather. And paint over this area over here. And this area over here. Okay, there we go. And I want to just make sure that I don't have any holes in my mask. I want to make sure that my mask is complete. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key while clicking on the mask. And you see I have little breaks over here. So I'm just going to fill those in. And it's important to do that for this exercise, because if you have breaks, each time you add a new layer, the saturation in those breaks is going to get a little messed up. Okay, hold down the Alt key again, and there we go. That's red. That's the first layer. So we're going to go ahead, we'll rename this layer red. Now we're going to go on to orange. For orange, we need a new hue saturation layer. So we're going to go down to new layer again, hue saturation, and we'll call this layer orange. What we're also going to do is we're going to borrow the layer mask for red, and we're going to apply it to orange, to the orange layer, just so I don't have to remask that stem again. And you can do that by holding down the Alt key and just clicking the layer up and dragging it up. Replace layer mask, yes. And now you can see we have this layer mask on the orange layer. Now, I'm going to go to the layer itself, click off the mask, and we're going to change this red to orange. That's pretty good, I think, right there, right? Now we're going to go to the mask and we're going to bring back some of the red that we had. So again, using our brush, make this a little bit bigger with the right bracket key. Make sure we're painting with black. Make sure we're at 100%. And we're going to start bringing back some of the red that we had. There we go. I like to include little extras here because I don't want it just to be like a straight line. Because if you had a flower like this naturally, which I know is very strange, the layers wouldn't be in straight lines. Okay, again, hold down the Alt key while clicking on the mask just to make sure that there's no breaks. See, there's a break here. Let's fill this in. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. We have red, we have orange. Now let's go on to the next layer, which will be yellow. Make a new layer, a new HueSaturation layer. Call this yellow. Again, get the layer mask underneath, hold down the Alt key and drag it up, just so that we don't have to, again, remask everything. Go to the yellow layer, and let's change the hue until we get yellow. There we go. I think about there. Now we're going to click on the mask. Again, with our brush, painting black. Bring back some of the orange that we had. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Hold Alt and click on the mask just to make sure it's complete. Yeah, see, we have these little breaks here. If you don't fix these breaks when you do the next layer, the hue adjustment is going to be applied where these little breaks are, and it's going to mess everything up. So make sure your mask is complete. Okay, hold down the Alt key again. Now we have 3 colors. The next one is going to be green. So again, new layer, HueSaturation. We'll call this green. Again, take the mask by holding down the Alt key and dragging it up. Now click on the adjustment layer and move it until we get green. There we go. That's a nice bright green. Click on the mask and we're going to bring back some of the yellow. Again, painting with black, 100% opacity on the mask. Let's get some of that yellow back. Okay. Now it's time for blue. And we're going to repeat the whole process again. New layer, HueSaturation. Call this layer blue. Go to the previous mask, hold down the Alt key and drag it up to copy it. Let's grab the layer and move the hue until we get blue. There we go. That's a nice blue, I think. Click on the mask to bring and start painting to bring back some of that green. Okay, hold down the Alt key. See, here's what I was talking about. Just to show you. You see this little spot of green here? And this one here? If you look over here, it's because I missed a part of the mask. So that's fairly easy to fix. We're just going to go ahead and just double check all of our masks. 1, 2, 3, and see where we missed it. There we go. That's where we missed it. I didn't do this last time. So we'll just paint in that. There we go. And now up here, we have to paint it in again. And now, hold down the Alt key to put it back. Now you see that the discolorations that we had before are gone. Okay, next will be Indigo. So we'll go ahead and again create a new HueSaturation layer. By the way, when you create these layers, make sure you're creating them from scratch. Don't go ahead. One thing you can do, just let me delete this just to show you. One thing you can do is you can go ahead and right-click and copy this layer, duplicate it. But I don't suggest doing that because that has the potential to really mess things up. Make sure that you go ahead and create these layers from scratch. So for Indigo, HueSaturation layer. Again, we're going to borrow this mask. Hold down the Alt key and drag it up. And now let's find something Indigo-like. There we go. I think maybe a little more. Yeah, there we go. That's good. Now click on the mask, painting with black. Let's bring back some of the blue that we had. Okay, let's check the mask. Yep, here we missed some. Let's just color that in, make sure we get it all. And now one more layer, and that's the violet layer. HueSaturation. Oh, we didn't rename this. Indigo. Rename this one Violet. Copy the mask. HueSaturation. And move it until we get, there we go. I think that's pretty good. Go back to the mask and let's bring back some of the indigo that we had. Just like leave the tip of it as violet. There we go. And there's our rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. One last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these layers. I'm going to create another stamp. Again, that's Shift, Control, Alternate E. And I'm going to go ahead and take this layer. And I'm going to make it, well, you'll see. I'm going to add what's called an Orton Effect to it. We're going to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and choose the amount. Here you can choose the amount of the blur. I usually leave it at about 20 or so, but feel free to experiment and find what you like. Hit OK. And now we're going to change the blend mode from normal to something like soft light. And we're going to take the opacity, because that's kind of strong, and bring it down just so that it has kind of a subtle effect. There we go. I think that's good. About 35%. And if we click it on and off, you can see it kind of makes the tulip shine more. And that's it. That's the process. And so we went ahead and we started with this, and we finished with that. Do you have any questions? Please let me know. Please write them down in the comments. If you have any questions, I'll be sure to answer anything that I can. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for future videos.